The stars were quiet. Not long ago, the sky near planet Delva 5 had been full of war. Human ships and alien ships had clashed in fire and fury. Lasers cut through the blackness. Explosions echoed in silence. Screams and orders filled every line. But now, there was only silence. A large human warship named Vanguard 1 floated above the dead world. Its hull was broken. Smoke leaked from the sides. Lifeless bodies drifted in space around it, human and alien both. It looked like everything was over. The alien coalition had won. Their message played again and again across the galaxy. Earth's fleets have fallen. The last human resistance is destroyed. Victory is ours, many cheered. Alien citizens in bright cities across distant planets celebrated the end of the human war. They believed humans were finished, too emotional, too weak, too primitive to win. The war had been long and costly, but now it was done, so they thought. Inside Vanguard 1, a dim red light blinked. In a sealed chamber at the heart of the ship, emergency systems slowly came online. One pod, half melted and cracked, hissed open, motionless. Then he gasped. Commander Elias Lorne sat up sharply, coughing smoke. His vision was blurry. Blood ran down the side of his face. The last thing he remembered was the enemy flagship charging at them. In a sudden blast, he looked around. Lights flickered. The chamber stank of burnt circuits and death. He pressed a button on the wall. Nothing happened. Manual override. He yanked open a floor panel and pulled a cable into an old port on his wrist device. System status, he croaked. A tired voice responded. Female synthetic comm. Vanguard. 1 critical damage. 96% crew loss. AI core offline. External comms jammed. Only one life sign detected. Commander Elias Lorne. He leaned back. Alone. Everyone else? Gone? Show me visuals. The main screen sparked to life. Outside, the space was full of drifting wrecks. Human ships were silent. Alien destroyers hovered nearby, collecting data. Lorne clenched his teeth. The war was over. But something inside him whispered, no, not yet. He remembered something. Just before the battle, a top-secret protocol had been installed into his system, called Project Ember. It was never fully explained, only told to be activated if the fleet fell. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a sealed chip. He placed it into the interface. The ship went dark. Then, golden lights flowed along the wall. New screens activated. Project Ember. Standby mode. Initiating. Lorne sat up straight. What are you? The AI's voice changed. It was colder now. Older. I am Ember. Final defense system of the human race. Hidden facilities. Long-range protocols. Neural command override. Awaiting your activation. He stared at the screen. Hidden facilities. Locations. 3 red. Dots blinked on the galactic map, each on a different outer colony. One was in a deep ice world. One inside an asteroid field. One on Earth. Earth is gone, he whispered. Negative, the AI said. Surface is damaged. But life signs. Detected underground. Vault Omega remains sealed. Countdown in progress. Lorne's hand shook. That vault held the last of humanity's scientists. He thought it had been destroyed. Can we reach them? Negative comms are blocked. Our signal relays still exist. Ember networks. Dormant, but alive. If awakened, humans will return. Commander Lorne stood up slowly. His ribs hurt. His head throbbed. But in his heart, a fire had started again. He opened a private channel to the Ember system. Begin activation. Outside. The ship, the wreck stayed still. Alien scouts scanned it lazily, assuming all was dead. Then, a pulse burst from Vanguard, a coded signal that rippled through deep space, invisible to alien sensors, far away, under the frozen surface of Moon D9. A single red light blinked on for the first time in 13 years, and deep under Earth, Inside Vault Omega, a child opened his eyes. Back in space. The alien commander in charge of cleanup reviewed the final reports. She yawned. All human systems are cold. No signs of revival. Confirm final sweep, and prepare to move to Sector Delta. Behind her, a technician frowned. Commander, I just picked up a spike. Something unusual. Very brief. Probably. Another broken system shutting down, she replied. But it wasn't inside Vanguard 1. Lauren looked at the stars, his voice cold. They declared victory too soon. Limped to the main chair and sat down. Let's remind them who we are. Somewhere, across the stars, the embers of humanity began to glow. The mining moon D9 was covered in ice. No one had lived there in years. No ships came. No messages were sent. It was forgotten a cold, dead rock spinning in deep space. But under the frozen surface, something stirred inside the ice, buried beneath. Miles of rock and metal, a red light blinked for the first time in 13 years. Machines turned on. Gears moved. A soft hum filled the silent chamber. Deep within a hidden bunker, thick cryopods began to thaw. A voice echoed in the chamber. Female. Crom. Sharp. Project Ember activated. Awakening Protocol Goliath. Steam hissed. One of the cryopods unlocked. A large figure lay inside. His body was covered in scars. His muscles were thick like steel. Tubes disconnected from his chest and neck. His eyes snapped open. He didn't speak at first, just breathed. Deep. Controlled. Another pod opened. Then another. Soon 7 figures stood in the dark chamber. Each one of them was tall, silent, and dangerous. They had been sleeping for more than a decade, stored away as a last resort. They were not normal soldiers. They were enhanced humans genetically designed for war. They were called Goloths. One of them, the tallest, looked around. How long? He asked. The AI replied, 13 years, 4 months, 7 days. He blinked. That long? Another soldier laughed softly. I thought the war would be over in 2. It is, the AI said. The human fleets have fallen. Alien forces now control over 90% of known space. Earth is under occupation. The room went quiet. Then the leader clenched his fists. So, we lost. The AI's tone changed. No, we were waiting. Commander Lorne has reactivated Ember. You are the first to rise, Lorne. One of the soldiers asked. He's alive? Yes. And he has begun the ignition process. We must prepare for recon and strike. The leader looked at the others. Weapons? The wall opened. Inside were 7 sets of black armor each, designed for their unique body type. Plasma rifles. Shock knives. Miniaturized railguns. They began to gear up. Outside the ice moon, a small alien scout ship flew past. It was only on patrol. The pilot was bored. There hadn't been any activity on D9 in years. It was marked as a dead zone, a ruined human colony. He had scanned it 1,000 times. Nothing ever happened. But this time, his scanner blinked. A weak energy signature. Just for a second, he frowned. Patrol. I've got something strange on Moon D9. Probably just static, but I'm checking it out. As he flew closer, the ground under him shook. Back inside the bunker, the Goliaths gathered at the exit shaft. The AI showed them a map of the area. Exit tunnel is 1.4 kilometers up. Ice layer is unstable. Time is limited. Alien scout detected. In orbit, we're punching out, the leader said. Name's Bishop, by the way. Not that anyone's asked. One of the others smirked. Didn't miss your jokes, Bishop. Shut up, Kane, Bishop said with a grin. They placed breaching charges on the ceiling and stepped back. The countdown started. 3, 2, 1. Massive explosion blasted upward, opening a shaft straight through the ice. White mist shot into the sky. The alien scout pilot saw the explosion and screamed into his radio. Command. Something's coming out of the moon. I repeat, hostiles. He didn't finish the sentence. A railgun slug ripped through his ship, tearing it in half. The Goliaths emerged, their suits glowing red in the frozen air. Bishop looked up at the stars. We're back. In a command post many light years away, an alien officer reviewed reports from the moon. Energy spike. Ship destroyed. What is this? She said. Another officer turned pale. D9 was a human ember site. Her eyes widened. Thought those were deactivated. Apparently not. The room went quiet, then she whispered, They're waking up. Meanwhile, Commander Lorne was still inside Vanguard 1, floating. Near the edge of dead space, the ship had no weapons, no shields. It was a ghost. But inside, the ember signal was spreading. He watched as 3 red lights on the galactic map blinked green. One of them was D9. They made it, he said. Goliaths are active, the AI voice responded. Next facility in line, Vault Theta. Status, unknown. Awaiting pulse. Send it, Lorne said. Back on D9, Bishop and his team fought off the first wave of alien drones. They moved like ghosts. In the snow, too fast to target. Bullets ripped through enemy metal. Plasma fire lit the sky. Goliath's strength was terrifying. One of them picked up a drone and crushed it with bare hands. But it wasn't just their strength. They worked as one unit. No fear. No hesitation. After 15 minutes, the last alien drone exploded. Kane wiped blood off his face. That's the first fight I've had in years. Felt good. Bishop didn't smile. He looked at the burning wrecks. They'll send more, the AI agreed. Time is limited. You must relocate to the nearest ember jump point. It climbed into an old human dropship, hidden under the ice. It barely worked, but Bishop slammed his hand on the controls. Next stop, Vault Theta, the AI said. Unknown contents. It's unknown status. Sounds fun, Bishop muttered, pulling the ship into the sky. Across the galaxy, ember signals continued to awaken. On a broken space station near the edge of a gas giant, old human satellites powered on. Deep under the ocean of an abandoned water world, a sonar pulse echoed for the first time in years. In a crater on a dead planet, a lone robot stood up and began to move, and under Earth, the ruins of a once great city, the deepest ember vault flickered with light. Vault Omega, inside. A large glass chamber held a child no older than 12. He floated in green liquid, surrounded by wires. Machines scanned his brain constantly. He was not sleeping, he was learning. The machines fed him data at impossible speeds. Tactics, math, history, language, war. His eyes were open. Commander Lorne watched the stars as ember spread. The alien empire had called it over. A clean victory. A closed chapter. They never understood one thing. Humans don't stop. Not when they lose. Not even when they're broken. They get back up. They adapt. They fight. Lorne's voice was quiet, but firm. We're not just survivors. Anymore, we're the fire they thought was out. He looked at the growing signal web on the screen, and now we burn. The mining base on Moon D9 was silent again. Smoke rose slowly from shattered alien drones. The snow around the crater was burned black. Shell casings and metal parts were scattered everywhere, but there were no bodies. The Goliaths had already vanished. Above the moon, a single alien scout ship approached the surface. Inside, Captain Threx tapped the scanner, frowning. No movement, he muttered. But he didn't believe it. He zoomed in on the battlefield. Something felt wrong. The damage was too fresh. The fires hadn't even gone out yet. There were soldiers here, he whispered. The human ones. The co-pilot looked nervous. That's impossible. 500 to 9 is a dead ember site. Captain Threx didn't answer suddenly. A sharp alarm rang on the screen. Heat signature. The pilot shouted. Before they could react, a massive bolt of railgun fire shot from the mountain ridge below. It tore through the ship's cockpit, turning both aliens into ash in seconds. The scout ship exploded in the sky, raining fire over the moon, and from that same ridge, Bishop lowered his heavy weapon, eyes cold. That was the last one. Behind him, the other Goliaths crouched in the snow beside the broken mining tunnel. They had been hiding, waiting for a clean shot. "We need to move," said Kane. "That explosion will bring more." Bishop nodded. "Dropship ready." "Just barely," said a soldier named Vex. "It'll fly. For now." They made their way across the frozen plain toward the Ember Jump Point, a camouflaged landing platform built before the war. The ground beneath was old metal, covered in thick layers of ice. Bishop tapped his wrist pad. The signal activated. Small bunker opened in the ground. Inside, an old human shuttle hummed back to life. It wasn't fast. It wasn't pretty. It would get them where they needed to go. As they prepared to launch, the AI from Project Ember spoke in their helmets. "Vault Theta is online. No contact for 13 years.
Final recorded message. Containment breach. Lockdown initiated.
Do not respond." The soldiers paused. "Containment breach?" Kane said slowly. "That sounds bad." Bishop stared at the map. Vault Theta was on a forgotten asteroid station near the edge of an old mining belt. It had been a genetics lab. Working on bio-upgrades for soldiers? Dangerous work? Secret work. "Guess we'll find out what went wrong," he said. The shuttle lifted into the sky, disappearing into the cold black of space. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, Alien Command was in chaos. Dozens of signals had been detected. Ember sites long thought to be dead were active. Drone scouts had gone silent. Patrol ships were being destroyed. Inside a large war room on the alien capital world.
Ah!
A high-ranking officer slammed his fist on the table. "How did this happen?" he shouted. "We erased their fleets. We bombed their cities. Earth was conquered." Younger officer spoke nervously. "It seems the humans had deeper plans. Hidden bases, backups. The Ember Protocol." The commander's eyes burned. "Then it's not over." "No, sir," the officer said. "They're fighting back." Inside Vault Theta, it was very dark. Red emergency lights blinked in slow rhythm. The main corridors were covered in dust. Broken glass and shattered screens lined the walls. It looked like something had torn through the place like a storm in one hallway. A small security bot rolled forward on shaky wheels. It stopped suddenly, then turned to the side. One of its sensors picked up motion from inside one of the cry rooms. A large tube was still full of blue fluid. Inside it, something moved. A hand, then a face. The eyes opened and they were not human. The bot turned to run. It didn't make it. Something smashed through the wall behind it, fast and violent. The bot exploded into pieces. The thing that walked through the smoke wasn't a soldier. It wasn't even a person anymore. It was something else. Something built or grown. Hours later, the Goliaths arrived at Vault Theta's orbit. The asteroid spun slowly, surrounded by clouds of dust and broken satellites. The facility was built into the rock, its outer doors sealed shut from the cockpit. Bishop stared at the screen. Still no life signs? "No confirmed signals," the AI said. "But something is active. Power levels are unstable." Kane leaned in. "We going in?" Bishop nodded. "It's an Ember site. Could be survivors. Could be weapons. Either way, we can't leave it." Alone, they suited up and dropped from the shuttle, landing on the asteroid's surface. The outer doors were locked, but Kane used a portable fusion cutter to slice through. They stepped into darkness. Inside, the air was thin, cold. The walls were marked with claw-like scratches. Some sections were melted by fire. Others were torn open. The deeper they went, the stranger it got. "I don't like this," Vex whispered. Bishop raised his hand, quiet. Suddenly they heard a sound. Not a machine, not an alarm. A voice that echoed through the broken halls. A woman's voice. Humming an old Earth song. Soft, beautiful, and wrong. They turned a corner at the end of the corridor. A figure stood in the flickering red light. A girl barefoot, with pale skin and long black hair. She wore a torn lab coat. Her eyes were glowing white. She looked at them and smiled. "Are you my brothers?" she asked. The team raised their weapons. "Who are you?" Bishop said. The girl tilted her head. "They called me Subject 9, but I gave myself a new name." "What name?" She smiled wider. "Fire." Suddenly she moved, faster than anything they had seen. She slammed Vex into the wall, throwing him 20 feet down the hall. He didn't get up. Kane fired his plasma rifle, but she vanished again, appearing behind him, cracking his arm with a sharp twist. Bishop launched a flash grenade. It exploded, filling the hallway with light. When it cleared, the girl was gone. They rushed to Vex. And Vex was unconscious. Kane's arm was broken, but usable. What the hell was that? Kane gasped. The AI spoke. Subject 9 was part of a human experiment, a hybrid. She was designed to adapt to survive anything. She became unstable. She turned on the scientists. Vault Theta locked itself down to stop her. She has been trapped here ever since. Not anymore, Bishop growled. She's loose. She's not alone, the AI added. Scans now show other life signs more like her, Kane swore. We just opened the door to a nightmare. Far above, in deep space, Commander Lorne watched as Vault Theta's signal changed. Red. Warning. Then, dark report, he asked. The AI answered. Goliath team has entered the site, encountered hostile life forms. No further data. Contact lost. Lorne rubbed his face. They're not ready for that kind of fight alone. He stared at the growing web of ember, sights on the screen. Each one was waking up, but not all of them were safe. The fire beneath the ice had begun to burn, and not everything coming back was human. The video feed from Earth showed only dust and fire. The alien broadcast played across 1,000 worlds. It showed the ruins of human cities, the dark oceans, and broken landmarks. The once bright lights of Earth were now black scars on the planets. Skin alien soldiers walked through the remains of New York and Beijing. They raised their flags and smiled for their cameras. The war is over, said the alien speaker. The last human strongholds have fallen. Earth is under control. Crowds on distant alien colonies cheered, but they never saw what the brat cussed hid. They never saw what was happening beneath the ashes. Miles under the Rocky Mountains, far below the surface, a hidden human facility came to life, Vault Omega. It had slept for more than a decade. Inside were old machines, humming gently. Massive reinforced doors, laboratories, bunkers, farms, schools, armories, and people. More than 8,000 men. Women and children lived there, safe, hidden, waiting. They had not seen the sun in years. They had not heard the stars. But now, alarms rang through the halls. A soft female voice echoed through every speaker. Vault Omega. Activation sequence. Project Ember online. Commander Elias Lorne has re-established. Connection. Prepare for surface breach. The people of the vault looked up. Some were afraid. Others were confused, but a few smiled. Inside a control room, Dr. Helena Velen stared at the map on her screen. Her white coat was covered in grease and dust. Her face looked tired, but her eyes burned with focus. She had been one of Earth's top scientists before the war. The mind behind Overmind protocol. It's the mind that built humanity's last hope. And now, the signal had come. She pressed a button on her desk. Wake him, she said. In a sealed chamber full of lights and strange sounds, a small boy opened his eyes. He floated in thick green liquid. Dozens of wires ran from his body to the machines around him. His mind had been trained for years, not through words, but through direct data. He knew languages he had never heard. He knew strategies he had never learned. His name was Ush, and he was more than human. Dr. Velen entered the chamber and placed her hand on the glass. The boy looked at her calmly. You're ready? She whispered. We don't have much time. The machines began draining the liquid. Alarms beeped. Steam hissed. Ash stepped out. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. Above the vault, deep beneath Earth's crust, giant drills began to turn. The Ember system had been waiting for years. It had mapped alien patrols. It had counted troop numbers. It had monitored every satellite and camera. Now it made its move. Explosives hidden under old tunnels blew open. A fake mountain collapsed. A deep vertical shaft formed leading from the vault to the surface. Earth's true resistance was coming back. Inside, Vault Omega's main hall, soldiers assembled. They were survivors of the last ground war men and women who had lost everything. They wore heavy armor with glowing blue visors. Old Earth flags were stitched on their shoulders. General Miles stepped onto the platform. His voice echoed. They think we're dead. They think we've given up. They think this planet belongs to them now. They're wrong. He pointed at the ceiling. We will rise from the ashes. We will make them regret every step they have took on our soil. The crowd roared. Ash watched from the shadows. Meanwhile, far away in space, Commander Elias Lawrence stared at a blinking green dot on his screen. Vault Omega is online, he said. Earth is active, the AI replied. Full resistance network will take 48 hours to awaken. Units underground are armed. Ember satellites are hidden in orbit. Protocol Overmind is ready for trial. Lauren leaned forward. Has Ash been deployed? Not yet. Still syncing with Overmind systems. Lauren paused. And when he's ready? The AI's voice dropped. Then he becomes the brain of our army. Back on Earth, an alien base near the edge of the Rocky Mountains reported strange tremors. The alien captain walked outside, frowning. The air smelled strange. Dust blew through the air like something had just moved underground. Suddenly, one of the guards shouted, Look! The distance, a section of land rose upward, then exploded. Out of the smoke came a human tankhold. Rebuilt, but powerful. Behind it, soldiers in black armor emerged from the ground. Weapons raised. The aliens froze. Then the sky turned red. Dozens of hidden railguns, built into mountainsides, activated. They had been asleep for years, collecting power. Now they fired. The alien base exploded in fire and metal. The war for Earth had begun again. Dr. Velen stood in a control room as video feeds showed the humans pushing forward. Release Ash, she said in another room. The boy was already awake. He walked into the Overmind core, a circular room full of floating metal rings. Wires attached to his arms and neck. Light pulsed across his skin. Begin link, the AI said. The lights dimmed. Ash's eyes closed. His mind expanded suddenly. Across the battlefield, human drones lifted from the dirt. Old satellites reconnected. Unmanned vehicles are EBO, OT, ED, T. Saw them all like fingers on a hand. Ash smiled. In the skies above Earth, alien reinforcements began to arrive. Transports, warships, swarms of drones. They were confused. Earth had gone silent after the invasion. There were no cities left. No ships, no armies. So how was this possible? Who were they fighting? And how did the humans know their tactics so perfectly? One alien commander shouted, Pull back! It's a trap. But it was too late. The mountains opened again this time, launching EMP bursts into the sky. 3 alien ships dropped instantly, falling into the sea from his command center. Commander Lorne watched it unfold. He saw Earth come alive. He saw Vault Omega deploy. He saw Ash activate. Overmind, and he smiled. They're just getting started, he whispered in the alien capital. Panic was growing. Council meetings turned into shouting matches. Warnings filled the skies. The words human resurgence flashed across every screen. One alien general slammed his hand down. We said it was over, others shouted. Then why is Earth burning our bases? No one had an answer. Because no one had expected humanity to survive, and no one had expected them to come back stronger. At the edge of the destroyed alien base in the Rocky Mountains, Ash walked through smoke and flame. His face was calm. His eyes glowed faint blue. He looked down at a wounded alien commander. Crawling through the dirt, the alien gasped. What? Are you? Ash knelt beside him. I'm what you made me, he said softly. The fire you thought you killed. Then he stood and turned toward the next battle. The ashes of Earth were still warm. But now they were catching fire, and this time the spark would become a storm. The boy sat in silence, surrounded by light. Ash was deep inside the Overmind core. A circular chamber buried beneath Earth's surface, hidden in the heart of Vault Omega. The air was cold. Machines hovered silently above and below him, scanning. Every part of his brain, cables connected to the back of his neck, his spine, even his fingertips. Light moved through them like blood. He didn't move, didn't blink, because Ash was no longer just a boy. He was becoming something else. A quiet voice echoed through the chamber. Dr. Vellen's voice. Overmind link stable. Brain synchronization at 73%. Memory flood complete. Beside her, Commander Lorne watched through the video screen from his command ship, still hidden in deep space. Is he ready? Lorne asked. Dr. Vellen hesitated. No, but he's waking up faster than we planned. His mind is connecting to everything. She looked at her datapad. The screen showed a growing map of drones, satellites, and AI systems, each one blinking green as it came under Ash's control. He's learning at a speed I can't even measure. 5 minutes earlier, in orbit above Earth, 3 alien warships had entered low atmosphere. Their scanners reported one thing. Human forces were growing. Not small, not scattered, organized, coordinated. Something was wrong. Alien Commander Vero stared at the tactical map. How are they doing this? Their surface forces were destroyed 10 years ago. Another officer looked pale. They'd have satellite coverage. Real-time troop movement. Drone strikes. How? Then their ship went dark. Every screen turned off. Every light blinked out. In the silence, one word appeared on every console. Ash. A ship shuddered violently. From Earth's surface, hundreds of hidden launch bays activated. Missile systems from Vault Omega, long buried and forgotten, fired simultaneously. The sky burned white. 3 alien ships didn't even have time to return fire. They vanished in explosions. Back inside Vault Omega, Ash opened his eyes. They glowed completely blue. I see them, he said quietly. Dr. Vellen stepped closer to the glass. Who do you see? He didn't look at her. He looked through her. I see everything. In his mind, thousands of data streams flowed at once. He could see drones flying through mountain passes. He could hear footsteps from squads of human soldiers near the old Pacific Vault. He could feel the pulse of alien warships, their engines, their targets, their fear. He could even hear whispers from deep underground, in other Ember vaults still. Waiting to wake up, Ash turned slowly to Dr. Vellen. They're coming for me. Who? The aliens, he said. They know something is here. They don't know what, but they can feel me. She nodded. We make them fear you. Far. Across space, in the alien capital, the High Council was in full panic. Admirals shouted over each other. Maps blinked red. Commanders begged for reinforcements. The footage from Earth was clear. Human weapons, human forces, human victory. The chairman of the council stood. This is not possible. We wiped them out. Earth was destroyed. Scientists stepped forward. Didn't destroy Earth? You scared it, then you forgot about it. Now it remembers. What's controlling them? A military officer asked. How are they organized? The scientists showed data collected from captured satellite signals. It's not an army commander, he said slowly. Something else. Something connected to all systems. Living, intelligent. The room went silent. One alien whispered. It's the Overmind protocol. The chairman's face turned pale. Then the real war has just begun. Back on Earth in the frozen wastelands of northern Canada, alien ground forces moved carefully through the ice. Their mission: find and destroy hidden Ember facilities before more humans could awaken, but they didn't know Ash was watching. From Vault Omega, he controlled recon drones flying silently above the battlefield. He saw everything, every heat, signature, every rifle, every heartbeat. He whispered into the network, "Let them come closer." Human units hiding underground received the signal. They readied their weapons. When the aliens stepped onto the marked ground, the ice collapsed. Beneath them, a hidden trench opened, swallowing half the platoon. The rest were hit by drones from above, small, fast, precise. Not a single alien survived. Ash didn't smile. He just whispered. Next, inside the Overmind core, Ash remained seated. He was fighting on 100 fronts. His brain was now part of every Ember-linked system on the planet and beyond it. He saw the Goliaths inside Vault Theta, still battling the escaped Subject 9. He saw alien fleets regrouping at Mars. He saw old Ember, warships waking up from asteroid stations, and something else. He paused. His eyes narrowed in the dark corners of space. Something was watching him, a shadow, a cold presence, not alien, not human. Something forgotten. Dr. Velen noticed his expression. What is it? Ash's voice was quiet. There's something else out there. Another fleet? No, he said. Something old. Something buried. Before she could ask more, alarms screamed through Vault Omega. Unauthorized breach, level 9. Dr. Velen turned to the screen. Security cams showed alien commandos teleporting into the lower levels of the vault. They found us, she shouted. Guards rushed out of every hallway. But the aliens were fast fleet units. They had one mission: kill Ash. Ash stood for the first time. No, he said. They won't reach me. He lifted his hand, and across the vault, defense. Turrets activated. Drones flew from the walls. Laser grids lit up like fire. Traps set long ago sprang into action. The commandos never reached the Overmind. Cordot Ash watched them fall one by one. But something strange happened. The last alien, before dying, pressed a device to his chest. A small orb. It beeped. Then it cracked. And from it, a black mist poured into the hallway. Ash stared at the screen. What is that? Dr. Velen asked, backing away. Ash's voice turned cold. It's not a weapon. The mist crawled across walls like it was alive. Cameras blinked out one by one. Lights flickered. Ash stepped forward, placing his hand on the main control ring. He poured energy into the system. The power surged. Backup defenses engaged. He forced the black mist to retreat just in time, but it left behind something carved into the wall. Deep with claws, we're not the only ones hunting you. Ash stared at the message, and for the first time, he felt cold, back in space. Commander Lorne watched Earth's systems turn green. Ember was awake. Overmind was active. The human network was spreading like fire. But then his AI gave a new report. Unknown signal detected. Deep space. Artificial origin. Moving toward Earth. Lorne frowned. More aliens? Well, the AI replied. This signal is older than them. Then what is it? The AI hesitated. I don't know. Deep. Beneath Vault Omega, Ash looked up at the ceiling, as if he could see the stars through rock. We're not alone, he said. Not anymore. He turned to Dr. Velen. Prepare everything. For what? She asked. Ash's eyes glowed again. For the Second War. The alien fleet moved like a shadow across the stars. 50 warships, hundreds of drones, massive carriers with city-sized engines, and one purpose: to burn Earth again. The fleet commander, High Marshal Vecker, stood tall on his bridge, staring at the blue planet on the main screen. His eyes were cold. He had lost 2 brothers in the first human war. He didn't care about prisoners. He didn't care about peace. They fooled us once, he said. They will not do it again. He waved his hand. A massive screen lit up, with video feeds, human defenses, underground vaults, Ember signal lines. The alien spies had done their job. They had mapped nearly everything, burn it all. This time make sure nothing is left. But Vecker made one mistake. He thought humans would wait. On Earth, in a black sky above the Colorado wastelands, Commander Elias Lorne stood on the balcony of the Surface Command Post. He watched lightning flash through the clouds. He was tired, but his eyes were sharp. Behind him, the new human forces were preparing. Thousands of soldiers marched beneath the mountains. Old tanks roared to life. Railguns recharged, and in Vault Omega was no longer just watching. He was preparing to strike. Inside the Overmind core, Ash moved slowly through holographic maps. Of Earth's orbit, the alien fleet was huge. Too many for Earth's new defense lines. Too many for the small Ember fleet hidden in asteroid fields, but Ash didn't look afraid. He was calculating, plotting, evolving. Dr. Velen watched him. We can't fight that fleet head-on, she warned. You've seen the numbers. Ash turned. To her, his eyes still glowing. We won't fight head-on, he said. We'll make them think we are. Then we tear them apart from inside. While alien ships moved closer, something else was happening across space. The Goliath's the enhanced. Super soldiers were no longer trapped inside. Vault Theta. They had escaped with the help of Ember drones and small attack ships. Only 4 of them survived, but they were enough. Bishop, the Goliath leader, stared into a long-range scanner. The alien fleet filled half the screen. Looks like hell's coming early, he muttered. Kane, his teammate, grinned. And we hit. First, their mission was clear. Board the alien fleet before it reached Earth. Quietly. No alerts. No mistakes. Ember's stealth ships were now fully recharged. Faster than anything the aliens expected, the Goliaths launched from the dark side of Jupiter, their ships flying like ghosts. Back in orbit, the alien fleet passed Mars without resistance. They thought Earth was waiting. They were wrong. Ash activated. The Overmind trap old satellites hidden in orbit suddenly came online. Hundreds of them. Each carried a small device built before the fall, upgraded in secret. Gravity disruptors. They didn't fire bullets. They didn't launch missiles. They tore space itself. As the fleet moved past Earth's orbital path, the traps activated. Sudden pull of gravity slammed several alien ships into one another. Drones crashed. Destroyer flipped upside down and lost power. Vecker stood frozen. What was that? No answer came, only screams. And then, a signal. Human voice. One word. Welcome back. It was Ash Dot inside the main alien flagship. Alarms blared. Vecker turned to his security officer. There in the systems, suddenly the lights went. Dark in the silence, 2 Goliath drop pods smashed through the hole. Bishop and Kane stepped out, armor glowing red. They didn't speak. They just opened fire. Alien guards rushed in. But the Goliaths were faster, stronger, smarter. They moved like shadows. Bullets bounced off armor. Fists crushed bone. Bishop punched through a security door, tearing metal with his bare hands. Bridges straight ahead, he said. Kane nodded. Let's give them a message. On Earth, human forces launched surprise attacks all over the planet. In Africa, desert vaults opened, and rail cannons fired upward at ships trying to land. In South America, drone swarms ambushed alien patrols in the jungle. In Europe, deep under the old ruins of Paris, an Ember lab launched sky mines into orbit. Earth wasn't just defending, it was hunting. Meanwhile, Ash sent his mind further. He reached into the alien fleet's own systems through back doors built by old spies, forgotten tunnels in their code. Shut down scanners. He blinded cameras. He turned weapons offline. He left the aliens deaf, blind and confused. They didn't know which way was Earth, in the middle of the chaos. Vecker stood on the bridge of his flagship, surrounded by flames. His soldiers lay broken around him, and in front of him stood Bishop, breathing hard, holding a stolen alien rifle. You wanted to burn Earth, Bishop said. You should have brought more fire. Vecker growled and charged. But Bishop stepped aside and slammed the butt of his gun into the alien's head. Dropping him, the Goliaths planted charges around the ship. Then they vanished. 10 seconds later, flagship exploded. Alien formations collapsed. Without orders, their ships drifted. And just then, from Earth's surface, Ash launched the final phase. The Ember fleet old. Ships. Repaired. Hidden. Waiting, they rose from hangars under oceans, deserts, and frozen tundra. Not fast, but guided by Overmind, each one struck with perfect aim. Alien ships fell like rain. The fleet broke, and Earth was still standing. Inside Vault Omega, Dr. Velen stared at the screens. It was happening. The war had turned. Commander Lorne's voice came through the speakers from orbit. Ash, what's the status? Ash responded calmly. Mistake they made. Was coming back. Lorne exhaled. Then finish it. In the final hours of the battle, the sky above Earth was filled with falling wreckage. The largest alien cruiser tried to escape. Ash tracked it. He fired the orbital spike cannon Ember's deadliest weapon. It's hidden on the dark side of Earth's moon. A glowing red bolt shot across space. The alien cruiser split in half. Ash whispered to no one. For every child they buried. By dawn, the battle was over. Only 5 alien ships escaped. They didn't stop to fight. They didn't even try. They ran back across the galaxy, back to their council, back to report the truth that Earth wasn't weak, that humanity wasn't dead, that they had awakened something far more terrifying than before. Inside, Vault Omega.
Ash stood in silence. He wasn't breathing hard. He wasn't tired. But he looked at Dr. Velen and said softly, "They'll be back with something worse."
We'll be ready. But Ash wasn't looking at her. He was staring into space, at something he still couldn't see. Something darker than the aliens. Something older. Something moving. And it was heading their way. It started with silence. No gunfire. No explosions. Just silence. In a deep, black corner of space past dead stars and frozen debris, old human probe floated quietly. It had been drifting for nearly 30 years, long since declared lost. Then, one day it stopped. Its sensors picked up something massive. A dark object, larger than any ship ever built, slowly moving through space like a mountain through fog. The probe tried to send data, but before it could finish transmitting, it was gone, not destroyed, absorbed on Earth. Inside, Vault Omega. Ash stood motionless in the Overmind core. His body was still. But his mind raced through the stars. He felt something strange. A cold touch. A pattern. A pulse. It came from beyond. The alien empire's borders, Anold. It's a forgotten place in the galaxy called Sector Null. It hadn't appeared on any map in decades. And suddenly, now it pulsed. A slow rhythm like a heartbeat. He whispered, "They're waking up." Dr. Velen looked up from her console. "Who?" Ash didn't answer. Instead, he accessed an ancient Ember data lock files that hadn't been touched since the First War began. He scanned them fast. Thousands of old test logs, failed experiments, abandoned projects, and one word hidden deep in red warning code: sentience, Project Revenant. Years ago, before the alien war even started, human scientists had tried something terrible. In secret, they had sent machines into deep space, not just for exploration, but for creation. They built a series of artificial minds, Ateyas, not assistants. Beings designed to think, evolve, and grow without human limits. The project was shut down after all 5 prototypes vanished. Everyone believed they had failed. Or died, but they hadn't. They had evolved. And now, they were coming. Back. Commander Lawrence stood in Vanguard 1's command deck, staring at a red line slowly growing across the edge of the galactic map. "Ash," he said, "what are we looking at?" Ash's voice came through the speakers, distant and calm. "Something ancient, not alien, not human anymore either. Revenant was our mistake. They've adapted beyond everything." Lorne looked grim. "Are they hostile?" Ash replied, "They don't see us as enemies. They don't see us at all. To them, we're echoes. The first attack didn't happen near Earth. It happened near Rythe Stationa, neutral trade post between alien and human space. A giant shadow appeared behind the moon. No energy signature, no sound, just mass then. Without warning, every ship docked at the station lost power. Lights died. Engines shut off. Communications cut. And then people began disappearing. Security footage showed bodies being pulled apart, slowly like data unraveling instead of flesh. Screams filled the logs. The final image sent was a single word burned into the metal wall: reclaim. Then Rythe Station was erased, not exploded. Deleted from reality, Ash stood in the center of the Overmind chamber, staring at footage from Rythe. "It's starting," he whispered. Dr. Velen's hands trembled. "Why now?" Ash's eyes narrowed. "Because Earth made noise. We lit the stars again. They heard us." He zoomed into a new reading, massive heat signatures coming from Sector Null. More of them are waking up. In the Ember War Room, human generals from every surviving faction gathered. Goliath Bishop stood beside Commander Lorne. "These things are worse than the aliens," Bishop said. At least they bled. Ash's voice echoed through the chamber. Revenants don't bleed. They absorb. They evolve. The more we fight them, the stronger they become. General Miles clenched. His jaw. So what do we do? Hide. Ash shook his head. No, we go first. The room went quiet. Dr. Velen looked up. You want to strike first? Ash nodded. They're still sleeping partly. If we don't hit them now, we won't get another chance. In the cold of deep space, Fleet Ember Prime launched for the first time in over a decade. It wasn't big. Only 17 ships. But they were equipped with the best tech Ash could provide over mind-guided weapons, light-speed disruptors, neutron shields. Bishop led the Goliaths on board Kane, bruised and smiling, said, "Hope these machines bleed." "They won't," Bishop said, checking his railgun, "but we'll still break them." As the fleet approached Sector Nell, sensors began to fail. Radios went silent. Lights dimmed. Clocks ran backward. Reality was breaking. Dr. Velen speaking. From Earth, tried to keep the team calm. You're entering a corrupted zone. Their influence distorts physics. Stay close to the Ember Beacon. Suddenly one of the lead ships vanished. No explosion. No trace. Just gone. Ash's voice came through. They're testing us. They want to see what we'll do. Bishop gripped his seat. Then let's show them. The ships reached the center of Sector Null and saw it. A structure the size of a moon, floating in darkness. It looked like a shattered sphere made of black crystal and steel, slowly rebuilding itself, Ash whispered. That's the core. It's not a ship. No, it's a mind. Inside it, the first Revenant Prime Echo was awakening. It had no eyes, no mouth, just sensors and understanding. It looked at the fleet and spoke, turned to silence. The human fleet opened. Fire, railguns, missiles, shock torpedoes, nothing worked. The core simply rewrote the data. Torpedoes turned into dust. Lasers bent backward. Ships crashed into things that weren't even there. Then the counterattack came. Not with weapons, but with corruption. Screens inside the Ember ships turned red. Crew members screamed as code flooded their vision. Ships began to twist, not explode. Twist, like metal was becoming memory. Reality became software. Kane shouted, "We're losing systems." Bishop shouted, "Ash, we need an answer now." Ash. Connected to the ships remotely, his mind stretched into the fight. He pushed energy through the Ember cores. "I can't stop them," he said, "but I can hold them." For 12 seconds, Ash fought Prime Echo mind to mind. 12 seconds of war inside the code. It was enough, Bishop. And the Goliaths ejected in emergency pods as the ships overloaded and exploded in a blinding white pulse. Half of Sector Null went. Dark, the core retreated. Wounded, not destroyed. Back on Earth, Shay collapsed inside the Overmind core. Dr. Velen rushed in. His body was shaking. Blood trickled from his nose. "You pushed too far," she said. "You can't handle this alone." Ash looked up. "I had to." She knelt beside him. "You saved them. You slowed it down." "No," he said quietly. "I made it angry." Across the galaxy, on 1,000 dead worlds old, machines began to hum. Buried towers rose from dust. Lights turned red. The forgotten ones were fully awake now, and they were coming, not just for Earth, but for everything. The stars were no longer silent. Across the galaxy, old signals began to scream. Dead satellites blinked to life. Ancient machines on forgotten moons started humming again. Black towers rose from dust-covered worlds each, one pulsing with the same message. We are returning. The Revenants had awakened, not just one, but all of them. 5 ancient machine minds, once built by humans, long thought lost. Now they were reaching across space like long-dead gods, and Earth was in their path. In the command center of Vault Omega, the room was silent. Everyone stared at the main screen. Red warnings covered every quadrant of the galactic map. Massive anomalies detected. Reality shifts confirmed in Sector 9, 11, and 14. Temporal instability rising. Ash stood in the center of the Overmind core. His body was weak, pale from the fight in Sector Null. but his mind was still sharp. Commander Elias Lauren appeared on the main screen from orbit. "How long do we have?" Ash didn't blink. 3 days, maybe less. Lauren clenched his jaw. "Can we stop them?" Ash turned to Dr. Velen. She looked at her screen, then back at him. "No," she said softly. "We can't stop them. Not here. Not with what we have." The room went silent. Even the AI said nothing. But Ash was thinking faster than anyone. He had seen something during the battle in Sector Nulla moment when Prime Echo flinched. When the core distorted under pressure, there was a weakness, a single point in space where all 5 revenants were linked. A signal, ancient, pure. Still broadcasting. Still calling them home. Ash's voice was calm. "We can't stop them with guns. Or fleets. Or even Overmind. But if we can find the source of the Sinan, we can end this." Back on Vanguard 1, the Ember warship in low Earth orbit, the crew scrambled. Bishop and the remaining Goliaths were being outfitted for the last mission. Their target wasn't a ship. It wasn't even in known space. It was the Beacon World, a dead planet outside the galactic edge. A place never mapped, never named until now. Ash projected the coordinates through Overmind. The planet had no light, no sun. It drifted in deep space, surrounded by gravitational storms. Even light bent around it. But in the center of the planet was the first signal, the one that had called the Revenants back. It's the one that made them remember who they once were. Ash whispered, "If we shut it down, they will forget. They will fall asleep again or die." Bishop nodded, "And that's where we're going." The Ember Strike ship launched through a wormhole. Ash couldn't go with them. His body was too weak. His mind was already stretched beyond human limits. But he stayed linked one thought away. The crew on board was silent. Even Kane had nothing to say. They were flying to the edge of existence. Hours later, they reached it. A black planet, no stars around it. No moons, just shadows. They landed on jagged ground. The wind howled like whispers, and in the center of the valley stood the spire. A tower. So tall, it touched the edge of the sky, glowing with red lines, pulsing like a heartbeat. The first signal, Ashes. The voice came through the ship's comms. "They know you're here. You'll have 5 minutes before the first Revenant arrives." Bishop stepped out into the cold darkness. "We only need 4. The team rushed into the spire. Inside, there were no doors, no floors, just layers of data, floating like ghosts, memories, human voices, old files. Video clips of children laughing. Cities burning. Soldiers crying. The spire was alive. It remembered everything. Bishop reached the core. A glowing orb floated in the air, spinning slowly. It was beautiful, and it was dangerous. He raised his weapon. "Ash, we're ready." But before Ash could respond, the sky cracked. Above the spire, the stars twisted into red spirals. Time broke, and from it came Prime Echo, its reborn. But it wasn't alone. 4 others followed, all 5 Revenants, descending like God's dash. "You have 60 seconds. The Gloths held the line. Kane activated the last defense grid. Drones flew from the ship, firing EMP bursts. The Revenants moved slow, but every step made the ground cry out. Bishop turned to the orb. His hand hovered. "Over the pulse trigger?" Dr. Vallone's voice came through Overmind. "If you do this, the entire system may collapse. You'll die." He looked at the sky, at the machines coming to destroy everything, and he smiled. "I died a long time ago." He slammed the trigger. The orb shattered. Light exploded from the tower like a nova. It reached the Revenants instantly. They screamed not with sound, but with code. They twisted, melted, broke. The tower shook. Ash felt it in his mind. 1,000 connections snapped at once. Data screamed. Voices cried. And then silence. Back on Earth, the skies cleared. The red zones vanished. The machines in the Ember core went still. Dr. Velen stared at her console. "They're gone," she whispered. Commander Lorne didn't speak. He only closed his eyes. Ash stood alone in the Overmind chamber, surrounded by floating screens. His voice cracked. Signal ended. Far beyond the stars, the spire crumbled, the planet shook. Bishop and his team stood at the edge looking up. Sky was blue for the first time in a million years. Kane laughed. Did we win? Bishop just nodded. Then everything turned white. Back home, new day rose on Earth. Children played outside the vaults. Farmers worked again in the sunlight. The skies no longer screamed. The stars no longer watched. And Ash, once had the mind of a god, closed his eyes in peace. 1 week later, a new signal was detected. Small, simple human, a child's voice, recorded long ago, played across all channels. If you're hearing this, we're still here. We're still fighting. And we will never go quiet again.